Hello world, this is Random Fix, and today I'm going to show you how you can buy a quality Ford Mustang like this for cheap and things that you should avoid. I'm going to cover pretty basic things such as tires and brakes, and then I'm going to go into a little bit more detailed specific problems that the Mustang might encounter and things you should definitely watch out for. So let me go ahead and get this started. Watch the video the whole way through. You do not want to miss anything on here, because on these Mustangs, these problems are really easily avoided, and you can save yourself a ton of money by knowing exactly what you're doing. And these are amazing cars, and I definitely think that they're worth owning. And like all good things, you just got to know exactly what you're getting yourself into. So follow along, and let's go ahead and look at a Mustang. And as you walk around the vehicle, the first thing you actually want to pay attention to is to make sure that the tires on the vehicle are going to be good. So you can walk around that. The brakes, you can easily see that all the 4 discs on this vehicle are in pretty decent condition. I actually replaced these not too long ago, so they're new. Same thing on the back here. You want to go ahead and grab the tires with your actual hand instead of using the penny trick, and then go all the way around and look at the back side as well. So that way you got to make sure you don't have an alignment issue. So you want to have the same amount of tire thread on the inside as you do on the outside. Check for any kind of cracks or busted up body panels. Make sure that the bumpers in the back here align and the gap doesn't spread or is uneven on one side to the other. You can see on this particular one over here, originally these Mach 1s came with the emblem right here. This one's been deleted because it's been painted satin black. You want to pay attention to little chips like that in the paint, but that's pretty normal, so check that out on here. And now I'm going to go underneath the hood here and show you a couple of things that I found really useful buying Mustangs over the last 18 years. So one of the very first things you want to look for is going to be on the fender here. You want to see if the fender is original. And the way you can tell is if you actually come back here, you can see that there's the oval Ford symbol right there. And if you're buying a Mustang that doesn't have this on the actual fender here, it means most likely it was replaced. But the oval can come running in the back and forth position like this, or it could run sideways. The original one runs back and forth. The reproduction models, when they were produced, ran side to side, so the oval was actually running left to right here instead of up and down. So that's something that really helps when you're looking to buy a Mustang. And you want to verify that on the other side right there. And the other thing you want to look out for on these Mustangs is a lot of times people don't have any power steering fluid in here, and these power steering fluid pumps and systems do leak. You want to see if the battery has a hole down. You can see this one right here is moving, and if you don't actually go put something around here, eventually you can cause damage to the plates here. You can check the brake fluid here, and the brake fluid is really clear. Somebody's went ahead and adjusted the clutch adjuster on here. So this is one of those BBK on the fly adjusters, which you can just do with your hand. The way you normally adjust the Ford Mustang clutch pedal is you actually lift up on it when you're sitting inside the vehicle. And then the Mustang motors on here, they're really good motors here, especially the V8s. They tend to be very strong, and they don't have too many problems. One of the problems they do have, though, is the vehicle will shut off on you when you actually brake and you're coming off of full acceleration. And the reason that happens is because the Mustang here actually uses the power steering fluid here to basically assist in braking. So you can see that the power steering hoses are running here. So instead of using a vacuum booster, what it's going to use is going to use the hydraulic pressure from the power steering pump on here. And there's a quick fix to that. And on the GT, the V6, or the Mach 1, Cobra, whatever it is, you can come back here, and this is going to be the idle air control valve. And these guys right here get dirty, so you want to make sure you go clean this every once in a while. It really does help clean the throttle body, and make sure you get all the way around it, and it'll really keep the car from having to stall when you do go from full acceleration to complete braking. Will stall the motor, so that's something you definitely want to watch out for. The other thing too on these Mustangs is this is a rear wheel drive, so if you do not service the rear end on this vehicle, the rear differential, these things will go out. And it's recommended, I think, about every 100,000 miles on here, but this is something that a lot of people overlook, so I always recommend that you go replace the differential fluid. And it's pretty easy. There's going to be the pumpkin right here, and I'm going to try to give you guys a better view of it. I'll have a list of videos on how to change this fluid, the transmission fluid, the brakes, how to clean the outer air control valve. But this is going to be the pumpkin right here for the rear differential, and it takes a GL5 fluid, and you could always look that up. I'll have a link in the description box for that as well. That's something you definitely want to pay attention to. And let's go ahead and go inside the vehicle. Let me show you some of the other nuances of these Mustangs. Overall, really great cars, but they do have their inherent characteristics, and one of them is going to be on these Mustangs, these GTs and Mach 1s, the ABS systems on these actually go out. So the ABS module, which I'll point out to you guys a little bit later, goes out, and you can get a used one for about $150 and a brand new remanufactured one for about $800 from Ford. So pay attention to that. There's normally no dash problems with these Mustangs. I've sold quite a few Mustangs and owned a bunch of them, test driven a whole ton working at the dealership for 18 years. So the dash problems don't normally come up. There's not normally any problems with the AC system. The stereo right here, this is going to be the Mach premium sound. You could definitely upgrade it. I put a navigation system in this one on here. Now it comes down to the transmission. So on this particular one, this is going to be the 04. This has a T3650. These transmissions on these cars actually go bad. This particular one in third gear scratches. So it just scratched right there. But when I'm driving, I actually have to skip third gear for the scratch not to happen. So pay attention to that, and you can get a rebuilt transmission from about $850 to about $900 on eBay or different vendors. So they're not that expensive, and it's about 5-6 hours worth of work to have somebody do it. Replace the clutch, the flywheel at the same time, save yourself the trouble. But this is in the rear end are definitely things you do want to service, and I recommend changing the fluid in here. It takes ATF Mercon 5 on here, and you could either fill it from the top, or there's a fill port and a drain port right on the transmission, which you would do it underneath. So that's pretty cool. One thing, when you first start the vehicle, try to have somebody watch from the back to see if you get any kind of smoke out the rear tailpipe. This may be an indication of a blown head gasket, overfilled motor. It could be a bunch of different things, so you definitely want to pay attention to that. Let the car warm up for about 10 seconds and then hit the full throttle a few times to see what happens. And this is going to be the ABS module right there underneath. Give you guys a better angle right there. So that does go out anywhere from 60 to about 120,000 miles. That will need to get replaced. I have had a few head gaskets go on this Mustang, so you do want to pay attention to that, and I can show you guys what you should definitely look for. And this is going to be the dead giveaway on these Mustangs. When you open this up, you should not see any kind of milky substance in here. And I've gotten lucky because this is something I normally always check when I bought a Mustang. and some I've come across a few that did have a blown head gasket, and I just walked straight away and avoided that car completely. The other thing too, I bought a bunch of GTs, Cobras, and Mach 1s, and the number one thing that a lot of people were encountering was misfires, and they couldn't figure out why. But the reason the misfires often happened was because they were using cheap aftermarket coil packs and buying those $40 ones instead of the real ones, which are about 50 to 40 bucks a piece, and you need 8 of them, so it does get a little pricey. And the other thing you got to watch out for if you are in the market for a Mustang is change your fuel filter. This particular Mustang I scored because the fuel filter on it was so clogged that was causing a misfire in every single cylinder except for the rear one back here. So I kind of knew what it was, and I got it fixed, and it was really easy. The fuel filter is going to be located right in the back here behind the axle, and I have a video on that, so I'll show you guys how to do that. But overall, really great cars. If you are looking at on the 6-cylinder, there is going to be a couple of inherent problems, and one of them is going to be when you first start the vehicle. You want to get there when the car is cold. Start the vehicle up, and you'll hear a tack 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 noise, and it'll go away after a few minutes. Not like an engine rod noise, but what that is actually the exhaust manifold on the 6 cylinders often crack because the vent line from the AC condenser or whatever it is drips onto the actual exhaust manifold. So cold water hitting a hot piece of metal is often going to damage and break it. So that is going to be a really annoying thing on the V6, but on the V8 models you normally don't come across that, and there's a lot of great upgrades for it. These Mustangs are amazing to work on. To change out the headlights, you can just pull out these 2 tabs here, and the headlight just slides out, and you can get these for anywhere from from 60 to about 120 bucks online for a whole new set. You can see mine is lacquer chipped all the way through. It's got the crow's feet, so that's there. The other thing too, these windshield wipers on these Mustangs are amazing. The coolest wipers that I've probably ever seen. To remove them, you just flip them up, hit the little tab out like that, just hold that out, and there you go. The whole thing just slides out. So this is something a lot of the racers did back in the 90s. We would take these off and put Rain-X on the windshield, and it worked, gave it a really cool look. But I really hope this video helped you guys out. Please leave your comments and your questions below, and what kind of experiences you've had with these Mustangs, and what you guys think about them, any kind of inherent problems that you guys have run across. As I said, I've owned quite a few Mustangs, and I've had really great success with them, and they're really easy to work on, and there's a lot of parts out there. So happy motoring, and go Mustangs. And if this is your first time visiting the channel, please consider subscribing for more time and cool videos like this about Mustangs and other related sports cars. If you guys have any comments, hit the subscribe button, and I really appreciate your continued support.